Hi everyone, my name's Tamara, and I'm going to be doing today the new moon reading. And this is more than a new moon, this new moon in Gemini. It's also a portal, and it has in Gemini at the same time the Sun and Mercury, and this is calling in your future. And we know how important this is because of all the other things going on with Pluto in Aquarius for 20 years and Neptune in Aries and all sorts of things. So it's really important to pay attention to not only the positive side of the energies coming in for you, but the negative. And I've already pulled the first cards for Aries. I'm going to be pulling two for each astrological sign. So we're going to be pulling the positive and then the negative from the archetypes pack, which shows us very clearly what is going on. And these are not an easy pack to read for me because they have the different colors, which I can't read very easily, but I'm going to try for you here. So the first one out for Aries was the mystic, and the light attributes for that are revels in intimate union with the divine. That's what the mystic does. Now for Aries, that's not an easy thing because they are the beginning of that soul journey on the astrological signs. But it's coming up for Aries to really think about their divine journey and how they are dancing intimately with the divine part of their journey, not the physical. And what came up in the negative here was the monk and the nun. Let's have a look and see what that is saying here. I actually need two types of eyesight help here. Shadow attributes, negative judgment of the physical world and excess piety. Now this is because within the Aries sign, there can be extremes and too much, fiery energy diving in. And this is saying don't go from the mystic to being pious with it, because that whole ego thing for Aries can do that. Where they might be right at the beginning of their journey, but they can certainly go into excess of whatever they do. So this is, be watchful, Aries. Yes, it's about you dancing now, your dance, your particular dance with the divine. But it's also, do not get into excess here and go into that real piety thing, where you're using your ego in the wrong way there. So that's a really interesting start here with those two cards. So let's do Leo. We'll stick with the fire signs here. So we're going to do the positive and the negative. This is quite interesting, actually. The Leo positive is the poet. Let's just look at that one first before we look at the negative attributes here. So this is expressing your soul insights. Sorry, that's a door just slammed to the outside. But it's interesting that it's come up at this point. So this is about light attributes, which is expressing this side of yourself, your insights, but in symbolic language. Now that is, again, that's an extreme for Leo, because Leo are usually right out in your face with whatever they want to actually show you about their insights. They can be very forceful with that because they are a leadership sign. So this is really interesting. This is for them to bring in the subtle, isn't it? Because it's the symbolic language of poetry. So they're asking them to be a lot more subtle at this time. I love the negative attributes that we're looking at for Leo, because it's child magical. How could that ever be negative? But I'm sure it's going to tell us here. Let's have a look. This is going into the pessimism, the depression, disbeliefs in miracles, believing that energy and action are not required for growth. So that's really interesting. That's like Leos, because of how forceful and powerful they are, and they usually do hold positions of power if they are working in that outer world. And it's saying that they don't have as much of the magical child there. So they don't necessarily believe, even though they're an energy sign, they may not believe in the magic of miracles. You know, in where you put your energy is where your motion should be, and usually is. And what we think is where our energy goes as well, whether we like it or not. There's a whole transcendent situation there with energy, and it's asking Leos to get more into that. But not only that, the positive side is to use poetry, use subtle language, use the subtleties of life. I don't think, even though it's the poet, I think it's much more than that. Be more subtle with your power. It's just as good when it's subtle as when it's in people's faces. So that's really, really interesting. I've never done this before, where I've done the negative and the positive on the archetypes and pulled out 2 cards. Let's see where we're going for Sagittarius here. So what is being asked here of the last fire sign here? It's the Father card here. And the negative attribute which they have to watch out for is the hero or heroine. So let's just have a look at the light attributes here. So for Sagittarius, it's saying talent for creating and supporting life. This is what that father figure is, because that's what they do, don't they, when they produce children. Positive guiding light within a tribal unit. So that's really cool for Sagittarians to see that now. And not only father, mother, we're going to take it for the females out there, it's going to be the mother card, but it's being that leading light within a unit. And Sagittarians can be very positioned in life where they're after their own enjoyment, their own movement around the planet, you know. So this is bringing them again, and I've seen this twice recently with Sagittarians, trying to bring them into the community and the tribal forces rather than always being out there working for themselves. So this is really interesting. This is bringing in leadership for Sagittarians and seeing themselves as part of a tribal unit, but also as a leader of that. Let's just see where this negative side is going here. Goodness, this is one of the much more difficult cards to read. This is having like a false sense of the hero and the heroine. You know, knowing that they are that bold person who is often up front and often moving around a lot and having a lot of fun and expression. And this is the false expression of the hero and heroine, where it may be a lot weaker than that for them, and it may be more self-centered. So they have to watch out for that. And I can see why that's come up with this father leadership tribal unit card, because you cannot have a false heroine behind any, or a false hero behind any leadership role that we're walking towards, because we're talking here about moving forward into that new way of being, aren't we? With every new moon, we're going to be doing this. We're going to be looking at how can everything be done differently. So that's your fire signs. I'm fascinated by that, actually. In looking at the two together, let's do the water signs. I'm getting here, and I'm going to do Cancer here. I'm just asking for guidance every step of the way here. So we have, for our Cancerians out there, is being the guide. Oh my goodness, this is really interesting again, because it's extreme. This is what's coming up in the positive and the negative, and this is addict. So what they're watching for with this new moon and their future is that they become the guide, not the addict. And addicts only happen when people have a lot that they haven't healed to cover up. I mean, they're not really, they're addicted to substances, but the reason they're addicted to substances is to cover up what is there that they can't cope with. Goodness me, for our feeling Cancerians out there, represents the nature of the divine and life in yourself. This is the attributes of the guide. So really bringing through here the divine within you so that you can guide others. And what we're dealing with here is that a lot of Cancerians from these two cards have not cleared up the shadow attributes in themselves. And this is because you need to be operating with integrity, honesty. And this will give you that authority over your inner spirit in the right way. So, oh my goodness, talk about extremes. We're looking at real healing here on all of these so far, actually, to bring that guide out. You cannot have addictions. You know, even if it's as simple as agreeing with people because you like to be liked and you have an addiction to being liked. But it can be, as we know, much, much more serious than that, with drugs and alcohol, sex, and hideous habits that are an addiction. So connected to all of those. So this is a real serious pull here with bringing out your guide and first healing all your addictions. On the water side, let's do Pisces. And for Pisces here, in the positive, we have the King. And oh my goodness, I can't believe this. To read the negatives, oh my, I've never seen this ever come out like this, because these were shuffled 11 times. 2 live here and the other 9 times before I put on the camera and everything. And this is King on the positive and Queen. We have to read the negative. So this is about within Pisces, your masculine and feminine. And the King attributes here are enlightened, benevolent leadership, benefiting those in your charge. So it's really being the King energy. And on the Queen, we're not allowed to read the negative on the King. We have to read it on the Queen, which is fascinating in itself. Becomes arrogant when authority is challenged, controlling and demanding. Isn't that interesting that we had to do that and that we got the King and Queen come out of that shuffle? So Pisces, you need to be moving into a more of a leadership role in your lives, whatever you're doing, whatever your mission. But be careful of that when people challenge your authority, that you don't go into the negative of that and you don't challenge the authority of others when you are in the same position, because everybody has their inner authority. And that's fascinating. That needs thinking about a lot for Pisces. I'm just going to have a look. And that, you know, with the King, it would have been rulership without restraint. But it's not that. It's this thing here on the Queen side here. Becomes arrogant when authority is challenged, controlling and demanding. So it's much more emotional that they wanted you to see. But they want you to not, when you are in that authority, which a lot of Pisces need to get more into, instead of being too airy-fairy about this side of themselves, their sovereignty, you have to watch that you go into emotions when people challenge you. Loving that one. Water sign, so we're Scorpio now. Let's have a look here. Who do we have? On the positive side, we have the Seeker. This is about Scorpios carrying on what is so natural for them, looking at the light and the dark, the death and rebirth, transformation. Thirst for wisdom and truth wherever they are. And that is your positive side, Scorpio. So true on that with the Scorpios, I know. And it's such a good part of them, because not all the signs have that in them naturally. They have to develop that side of themselves and come out of the physical. But Scorpios are natural at this. Let's see what they have to watch out for. They have to watch out for the Hermit in themselves, where they withdraw from society and fear all negative judgment and don't want to be around to hear that. And this is because they're sensitive, isn't it? Refusing to help those in need is the attribute as well. And this can come from arrogance again here and ego, where because Scorpios know so much more, because most of them have had a dive into the unknown, the known, the truth, wisdom, the dark and the light of life, the death and rebirth. They can do that. And also they can withdraw from society because they feel so different out there. So this is about you staying the course. Those are the words I'm getting here, Scorpio. Yes, you are that seeker, and now you need to take that seriously and not just it be something part-time in your life, because that's who you are. And you know more about death and rebirth and understand it than most. But do not retreat. We do not need you as the hermit. We need you out in the world. So very, very interesting here. I'm going to do the air now, and I'm going to start with Libra. And for Libra, on the positive, we have the angel. Well, that's lovely for Libra. Let's see what they're actually saying here. Helping those in need and no expectation of anything in return. And there is a natural part of Librans. I'm Libra sun myself. And I know that oh so well, but we have to be very, very careful that we don't only do that, and that we think of ourselves and love ourselves enough first so that we can go out and help even more people in need, because you do it best when you love yourself best. So that's really a good card. Let's see what we've got to watch out for here. And on the shadow, it's the pioneer. Well, that's interesting. What is the, this is one of the most difficult ones, done in like cream and olive green. Goodness, I don't even know whether I can see this. You know, on this side of it, think of the negative. The pioneer are people who go and mark the ground first, who go out there and declare their truths sometimes, don't they, as that pioneer in that subject or that researcher in that part of our lives or topic. And you do have to watch for ego there, where, yes, we may be one of the first that started on a different route in life, maybe, because there are a lot of Librans who are way ahead on their pathways because they did do that balance of the outer life, you know, the sort of physical life and the inner life. And that is because we have to try and keep that balance. That's who we are. And we're the justice. So it's all about right and wrong. But we do have to watch that pioneer fever doesn't take us over. So that's a really interesting one too for Librans here. So the air signs, who are we dealing? We're dealing with Gemini, and because it's all in Gemini, what are we going to get here? I'm taking them from the top, I shouldn't. Here, so here we go. We've got the Virgin for the Gemini here. So the light attributes here. Maintaining like symbolic, and it needs to be symbolic, not absolute on the Virgin side, but it's retaining purity. And I think this is really good for Geminis because they can flit around and it can become like disassociated information and thoughts and all sorts with Geminis because they have such an intellectual side of them. They also have a lot of wisdom, but keeping the purity on everything you work out for yourself that you're doing in life and what you play a part of. So holding that beam of pure light is what's being asked of you here. The shadow attributes are, well, hold that virgin purity, but don't judge. We have the judge card here. So let's see what they're actually saying on the negative here, which is offering only destructive criticisms when you judge people in the wrong way. You know, we shouldn't judge anyway, but we should seek for justice but not judge. So this is this is like criminal misuse, business misuse, and offering only destructive things on the judgment side. So even though I'm saying here, like, Geminis are one of the intellectual signs that can think a lot and they have a lot of wisdom. But you have to be careful here how you use this, because legally it can be misused. And also don't judge others in the wrong way. Maybe make a point of what may be wrong because you also have the purity side they're asking you to bring out. But it's like, use this in the right way. You may be asked to, at the moment, walk a path of being as pure as you can be. So there may be things in the lives of Geminis right now that need cleaning up. But do not then start to judge others. Just correct your own path and put things right and speak the truth. But you can do that without doing it illegally wrong or crossing the lines there and also judging others. That's an interesting one. And maybe put some comments in the comments section if you really get that, and there is a lot going on for Geminis in that way. On the air side here, we've got Libra, we've got Gemini. I'm trying to rack my brain now. We're going to draw the cards here. Isn't this interesting? I can't think what it is. I should have done this live and then somebody could put it in the chat. Aquarius. Oh my goodness, how would I forget that? And this is on the positive. We have the Saboteur. And this is you obviously using it in the positive way, and there's always a positive attribute. And this is really interesting actually, because it can be, you know, the light attribute here is highlights your fear of self-empowerment and the changes it would bring to your life. So there's a lot of Aquarians out there who are not taking that power. And my goodness, they have some power inside of them because they are the Aquarian age bundled up into this unit. You know, when it's your sun sign, that's who you are. And that needs to be exposed. We know the sun exposes. And if your sun sign is Aquarius, you need to be that person. And right now they're saying that the light attribute for an Aquarian here is that you might hide it because you don't want the self-empowerment. I wonder what the other card here is. And this is Femme Fatale. This is Aquarians on the negative side of the Femme Fatale. Inappropriate use of sensuality, attachment to money and power. So what we have here is Aquarians who have the possibility of throwing away their selfhood here and living out the Jezebel instead of being who they truly are at this moment in time as we move deeper and deeper into our new world of the Aquarian age. And that, I mean, goodness me, you can't make that up, can you? I mean, that is incredible that that's come out with the Femme Fatale as their negative they have to watch out for. So Aquarians, be in your sovereign selves. And to help me with this reading, I actually brought out Artemis, which is about sovereignty. Artemis is the spiritual warrior. And this is what emerged from the clay to help me. And this is who you need to be, the spiritual warrior. Stop playing the Jezebel. It's so out of date. It's so gone. It's so part of disruption and destroying your soul, but other people's, if you're based basically in sensuality and sexuality. So not what I want to be talking about here, but we have to do it. Okay, so we are left here with the earth, the good earth signs here. So let's start with Virgo. And Virgo is the artist on the positive and the child divine on the shadow attribute. So let's look first at the artist here. And the artist light attributes are expressing a dimension of life that is just beyond the five senses, inspiring others to see life symbolically. You know, a lot of these positive sides of all of these readings for this new moon and calling in the future have all been on the subtle, on the divine, on aspects of us living out our astrological sun sign, divine side of ourselves. And that's really, really interesting. So it's really, really interesting here for Virgos to do that, to really get serious with the more, and that's interesting, isn't it? Because Virgos are very perfectionists about what they do. They're very earth, but this is going in the other realms. It's like mystical paintings, and it's the artist. So it's using more of your subtle Virgos to bring out into your life and for others. And that was definitely mentioned, to show others that part of yourself so that you're completely on your blueprint, not just in the physical world, but in the more subtle, and you're bringing that out. Maybe, like symbolically, but mythology I'm getting here as well for some artists there. Now on the child divine, the shadow attributes here, an inability to defend others and oneself against negative forces. Now that's really interesting because again for Virgos, there's kind of, that perfectionist thing can get into being doing things correct as well as perfect. And here it's asking you to not let that divine part of you be affected by others and you not fighting back. You know, you not being able to defend yourself because that goes against the correctness. And that's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, I certainly have had my eyes open. I'm a Virgo ascendant, and that's really helped me with my work. But the interesting thing for me has been being taught by things that were happening to me that I had to fight back. And that was really hard for me. Like, I'm a Libran. You know, I don't like all this black, nasty, black magic, dark forces stuff. But in the last 2 years, I have learnt so much. And my energy field is so strong and protected now. And I can bring in my whole force from other realms to assist me when needed, which when I tell the story, you're going to be surprised. I mean, a lot of people see me like I'm 5'2" and I'm not strongly built or anything. And people can see me sometimes as not being, you know, strong and maybe needing protected, but do you know, in the last 2 years, me seeing the other side of my Virgo and Libra, and not just being that nice person, in brackets, but being my power. And when I've had to fight back, my power comes out supreme now. In fact, nothing touches me around my energy field. But I've had to work hard at allowing myself to see what was happening, to understand it was real and it's nasty, it's horrid. I didn't want to be a part of that, but I had to bring through my forces to fight against it. So being a Virgo, I can understand that on the negative side of the artist, you know, and I see myself not only in my ceramic work and other artistic things I do directly, I also see my teaching as part of my artistry of life. So I also have to be able to tell the absolute truth. And it's coming out quicker and more acute all the time now for every client that I have. Okay, so we are with the air, the earth signs. We have Virgo, we're now going into Capricorn. So we're going to have a look at the positive side for Capricorn here. And we have the healer. And the positive attributes of that on this particular card, because we know the healer, don't we, really? Goodness me, I'm having to use so many things here for these cards. I love these cards, but they are very hard to read. And in certain lights, they're even worse with the colours. This is the positive side. Bear with me here. Goodness me. This is about bringing through your healing attributes in every way in life. They're not always about a direct healing method that you might be using. So for Capricorns, you know, this is about using this within maybe your family, where you have a healing touch with the children, or you have a healing touch with somebody when you're out that needs your attention, because Capricornies can be quite severe and held up by a lot of rules and ideas of how life should be. And when you bring out the healer, Capricorns, this is about you seeing that it's possible to bring it out in every way. Like, even if you're having to chastise somebody at work, you can be the healer when you talk to them and when you show them what you need them to be doing, and that they haven't been doing it in an efficient way or whatever. But there is that healer in every one of us, and it's asking you to bring it out directly, yes, because you're as capable as any of us. Even the one, you know, like for a Libra, it's easy to think of ourselves as a healer, and an Aquarian maybe, hopefully too, and some of the other signs. But for a Capricornian, it might be more difficult. But it's saying it's there and available for you in every area of life. And where did we go here? I think it's shot on the floor. Child Divine. Let's find where that card has gone. Okay, we've got it here. So, the Mother card, the negative attributes. So when you're doing that, that's really interesting. The Healer. And now let's look at this. So on the negative side of the Mother, oh my goodness, what are they going to say here? Oh yeah, okay. Instilling guilt, or the opposite is smothering, isn't it? So Capricorns, you need to be careful when you're bringing out the softer side of yourself. Don't let it go extreme and smother, but also you know, be aware of the blame as well that can come out when you're telling something to somebody. You're trying to help them heal, but you may also be overpowering with giving them the guilt of that as well. That's quite complex, but it's an interesting one, because in one way they're the same card, because mothers are healers as well, aren't they? And we see like the Mother Earth people, they're always mothers. You know, when we're called like an Earth Mother, we're like the healer to help heal the earth. So it's like similar. So they're asking you to bring out the power on the good side and to watch for overdoing it or even giving guilt because the person hadn't healed before. So these are like subtle but quite intricate readings for each of these signs, and I'm really interested to see the last one for Taurus. On the positive side, goodness, Taurians, what are you up to in life right now? What are you calling in for your future? The positive side of this is the Exorcist. And the Exorcist, you know, archetype is to get rid of the evil and the bad, isn't it? And this is, you know, not only helping the earth to do that, but Taurians can be very stubborn and strict, and can be very forceful. They have not only that earth energy, but it comes through with a force. And they're asking you to bring out the benefits of the Exorcist to help this. So I'm going to actually try and read this one. Freeing yourself and others of destructive impulses. Well, that's exactly what I'm saying there about, you know, that Taurians do have that. And they're very forceful when they've got an opinion about something, or they're going in a certain direction. Even if you're like, I've had clients that have been quite hard to handle when they've got into that destructive, overpowering mode. And I have to just be strong myself and come in very direct and, you know, deal with it. Actually deal with what's happening, that it is coming out like that. And they need to be aware of that. So the Destroyer is the negative one we have to look at. So what? Yeah, that's really interesting, because they're exercising that force, and the negative side is the Destroyer. It is that force, and that force can destroy as it comes out. It can destroy people when they're even talking to them. Yeah, destroying others' desires or potential. It's exactly that, actually. It was what I was saying. And isn't it fascinating how these cards come out? Like I'm taking one from the top of the deck, one from the bottom, and we're getting and then I'm reading the negative or the positive accordingly. Like for the negative, I'll read the negative only. For the positive, I'll read the positive. So I'm going to do this again.